Good evening, everyone. My name is Chin and I will be your host for tonight. On behalf of the JPO family, we'd like to extend a warm welcome to everyone tuning in for tonight's broadcast. We hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe indoors. A friendly reminder to maintain good hygiene at all times and maintain social distancing when heading out. As we'd like to continue improving your experience with us, please help us achieve these by completing the poll that will be published during the broadcast. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A session down below. To anyone who is interested in sharing tonight's broadcast, a live feed will be shared on the JPO Facebook page and a recording of the webinar will also be uploaded on the page. Tonight's seminar features Maestro Tuomas Rousi, with his topic being life as a violinist and a conductor in Finland. As our JPO family attendees are mostly students ranging from primary school to college, their parents and their teachers, the sharing of knowledge and advice you have for all of us is invaluable and greatly appreciated. Now on to Maestro Tuomas' biography. Tuomas Rousi is a Finnish conductor. Tuomas Rousi studied at the Sibelius Academy under Maestro Panula, Ari Klaas, and Leif Segerstam. He has also studied violin at the Utrecht Conservatory and the Sibelius Academy. In 2000, he received the YLE Special Award at the John Sibelius International Conducting Competition. Rousi was the Student Union Conductor of Musicians from 1996 to 2001. He has visited conducting several Finnish orchestras, the Radio Symphony Orchestra at the Canary Islands Music Festival in 2002. Abroad, Rousi has conducted Poland, Denmark, South Africa, Lebanon, and Austria. He was the conductor of the Refugium Musicum Chamber Orchestra and was a member of the artistic design team of the Brinkhall Soy Festival. Since autumn 2010 to 2015, Rousi has also been the artistic director of the Seinäjoki City Orchestra. Now let us welcome Maestro Tuomas. Hello, Maestro Tuomas. Sorry, you're muted.
Hello.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
We're very honored to have you as our guest speaker. So could you tell us?
Nice.
Yes. So could you tell us about the video that we have just watched from the beginning?
Yes. Well, now it's just the start of the summer here in Finland, and what is very typical in Finnish musical life is that we have a lot of summer festivals, and this was or is from Porvoo Suvisoitto, which is one of the very major summer festivals in Finland, which is specialized to modern music especially. And this was just from there, a premiere of a flute concerto by Olli Koskelin, a Finnish composer, that we did in the year 2000. Or was it 2001? Around that time, yes.
So was the Finnish composer still alive?
Yeah.
Or
yes. And yes, and this was just a premiere of his flute concerto there, and I think that was a nice thing to put. That's a really typical Finnish music, modern music, and it is we are kind of famous for the to be very strong in contemporary music performing and so on. So this was a typical example of that.
I see. Okay, so could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. I'm originally a violinist. I'm still I'm a violinist, of course, and then when I was studying in Sibelius Academy, I got very interested about studying conducting as well, and then I did my conducting studies also there, and somehow it was building towards that. I always was very interested about symphonic repertoire, which is so broad and interesting and great, and so that was a natural path for me to broaden to that direction, and so I did my studies there, and then since I somehow mainly have been doing conducting as a work, but of course I still play violin, and I love especially chamber music, to play chamber music. I think that's one of the best thing a human being can do, is to play chamber music, great chamber music with other musicians.
I see.
So I think that's about it in a short nutshell, that the music itself somehow invites and leads to this kind of different directions for different musicians, and I think that was my way to do. And as you see in that picture, I also I'm very interested, and I love teaching violin, and I have students, and I have always enjoyed very much to teach. I think that's also a very important part of musicianship in my case. to be sharing things with younger people and to be in interaction with music in that way as well.
I'm wondering, when did you start learning conducting? Like, how did you start? Is it when you went into university or conservatory?
Yes, it was. I was doing my violin studies at the Sibelius Academy in early 90s, and after I returned from the Netherlands where I was studying, I did my violin diploma there as well, and then I still wanted to study more at the Sibelius Academy, and then since it's well known, there is a very great conducting class and a great conducting teacher. Maestro Panula was at that time teaching there. So I was always interested about conducting, and I always was somehow, when I was more or less finishing my violin studies, and then I entered to the conducting class, and then it was, then I mainly concentrated to that.
So you studied conducting in Sibelius Academy, is it?
Yes.
I see. Okay, so having conducted all the major orchestras in Finland, what are the memorable experiences that with this orchestra?
Yes, well, in Finland there is a lot of different orchestras. We have really big orchestras, symphonic orchestras in, let's say, 5 different cities. And then we have smaller, like Sinfonietta or chamber orchestras in other smaller cities. So we have a lot of professional orchestras, and it's widely spread like that in the country. And I think that's a very good system. Then it's reachable for many people in this vast country. And well, since we asked about those more memorable moments, maybe I would mention those concerts I did with the Radio Symphony Orchestra with this kind of movie, in a live movie accompaniment. So to play music to a silent movie. I think that's a very challenging also for the conductor, and also it's interesting to like a new art creation, because there's a movie that audience is seeing, and we play music which was composed or meant to be to that movie. So I had actually 2 different projects with the Radio Symphony for this, and I think that is memorable. And also when I, in a very short notice, one day short notice, I was in this Canary Islands festival. I was asked to conduct 2 concerts with different programs, just like that, because the conductor fell ill, and I had to I was playing the orchestra, and I was just in one very short notice, I had to conduct those 2 concerts, and that was very exciting and nice memory as well.
So I'm wondering, do you conduct all kinds of orchestra, like opera and ballet?
Well, yes, I do conduct also opera, even though it's not has been not the main thing in somehow my musical life, but I still very interested about it, and I've done several Mozart operas and something else also, mainly at the Helsinki Conservatory projects. We have done there several operas, and that's also very interesting. But it's actually very different profession, I would even say, to conduct an opera compared to, for example, chamber orchestra or so. So it is very there are many conductors who are really concentrating mostly on that. So but maybe in Finland there are not so many conductors who are really into that direction. So maybe a few of them, yes, but not really. It's not a mainstream somehow here.
Oh yeah.
Among Finnish.
I see. So I'm curious, do you only conduct professional orchestras, or do you also conduct like amateur orchestras or like community
Yes, I do
orchestras?
conduct. Yes, I do conduct amateur orchestras also, and that is something very nice and interesting thing to do as well. So
Mhm.
I I love them both. So yes, amateur orchestra conducting, it's after all is dealing with music, and people who play there, they really are there simply for the love of music, and I think that's also a very rewarding thing to do.
Yes. Was it how was it different when conducting a professional and an amateur orchestra? Like, what's the difference? Do you find it difficult? How is it difficult or
I think the difficulties are little slightly different. In amateur orchestras, many times uh, things can be easier since they don't know that certain things should be difficult. So it can be also that way that it is. mm, but on the other hand, things that you wouldn't uh, expect to be very difficult can be difficult. So
Oh yeah.
it somehow can be surprises in that way. But in amateur orchestra, when you conduct, you really have to be, as a conductor, you really have to be very clear and very, so to say, not too much extra things. So you have to really to be helpful.
I see. Um, just a question for you. So, if anyone asks you, would you say you are more a conductor or a violinist? What would you answer?
Well, I think that's very difficult question to answer. Mm, I I would like to maybe answer that I'm both. I really don't know which I am more. What comes to the time using, somehow I'm more as a conductor. That is
Mm-hmm.
the main profession, so to say, that I have had in my life. But everything, that you make the sound with your own body, and so it's very important for a conductor as well. So I think I would say that the violin playing is the root of the being as the musician. So I think they are important to me, at
I
least.
see. Okay, so based on your experience in countries across Europe and beyond, were there any significant differences or similarities to that of their orchestras and your experience with the major orchestras in Finland?
Yes, I think there are both. There are similarities and differences. The similarities are obvious, of course, that we are dealing with the music that we play, actually, and that doesn't vary. That we are in the music, and those principles are of course the same. But
Yeah.
the culture, it's the culture of approaching and the sound wise and the culture wise, how to orchestras are in the rehearsal,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the time spending, and there varies, of course, very much. And for example, when I was in Johannesburg in
Mm-hmm.
South Africa, conduct Philharmonic there, it's the members of that orchestra, very majority of them come from Europe, from Russia, and from Eastern Europe, and from places in Europe and so on, and they bring their culture into there, and of course it's a very interesting cocktail somehow, and melange, South Africa. So I think in that particular orchestra, I think there was a lot of culture. You can hear this kind of old culture, but at the same time in this kind of very South African atmosphere there, and I think it was a very interesting interesting cocktail of cultures, and in the sound of orchestra is very, very personal there, I think. And then I remember London Sinfonietta, which I conducted in Austria, was of course very, very fast and precise, typically contemporary orchestra, music orchestra, and everything happens very fast, and they are, extreme professionals and clean like that. So there's a lot of differences, and I remember in Beirut when I was conducting the Lebanese National Orchestra. I think it was very, very nice atmosphere there, and the speciality of that was that of course a lot of discussion and speaking in the rehearsals and so on. In a concert, when I sometimes turn around a little bit to see the audience, although they had seats, but they really didn't sit down. They were standing up and walking around the hall and discussing with each other. So it was a gathering like that for the audience more. So you can see so many different approaches and so many different styles of making music and getting the music like that, as a listener. So I think it was very interesting and to see this kind of. But after all, everybody, just the way of being is very different. But the love of music is always there.
I see. Okay, so just a reminder to all our viewers and listeners, please feel free to ask Mr. Tuomas any questions. So you can type that in the Q&A chat box there. So he will be very happy to answer you live later during the Q&A session. So Mr. Tuomas, so how did you go about choosing your career? Did you always intend to perform as a musician and conductor, or did one eventually lead to the other?
I think one led to another quite clearly. I always wanted to be a musician, maybe because I was not very good in anything else. I don't know, but somehow I always was feeling that music is something that I want to deal with, and somehow it led to that to be the profession as well. But then to be a conductor and violinist, that we already a little bit talked earlier. So I think that led to, and it grew naturally somehow, organically to that, because I always was very listening to symphonic music, and I wanted to just be part of it and make and play that music. And so I think the question is it's just to play that music, to feel that that's the way you want to do it, and to make it sound a certain way that you have to believe in. So in that way, it's just the same as playing violin, chamber music, or violin sonata or something. So that there's always this will and will to play this certain piece and this music, and I think that's a common ground for all music making, whether it's conducting or playing.
Okay. I want to ask something. So, what kind of orchestral work do you like the most?
So, could you repeat once more your question?
Yes. So, what kind of orchestral works do you like the most? Like, maybe which orchestra you like? Is it symphonic work that inspire you to maybe conduct, or like who's the composer, and then like what kind of orchestral works?
Yes. Well, as a conductor, of course, the symphonic repertoire is huge, and you always want to explore and find new things and educate yourself, so to say, to get to know more music and to study more music and to try to understand the connections between music and the cultural background of and other arts and so on, so on.
Mhm.
But still, I always come to that the greatest music is these old masters, you know, that always comes back to Mozart and Beethoven and Schubert and Bach and so. Those, well, Bach is not really, it's very few Bach works that requires a conductor, but
Yeah.
But still, I would say that Mozart and Schubert and Beethoven are those that I is, so to say, the Bible of music, and so I always come back to that and draw from that, and I think that's a most lovable music to me.
I see. Okay. Any tips for the viewers planning to pursue similar pathways? Do you have any tips?
Yes. I think the number one tip would be that I think that it's very important to study properly and master your own instrument very well, and very to be very to go deep to study that and learn the skills of your own instrument or instruments if you have even two. But basically that's the ground of to be a music maker, so to say. And I think that if you then feel the need to conduct, also that the need to have your own say, so to say, to this symphonic music, I think then it's a next step. There's a lot of this kind of style nowadays that you almost start by conducting. I don't really think that's a I think the most important is to go deep to your instrument and play a lot of chamber music. I think that's tip number two, and to play a lot of the chamber music. So I think that is very good and very usable and very the most important thing to as a growth of a musician to have that experience and to have a lot of experience as a chamber musician. So it's like a tree. It grows then if you have that kind of ambition and that kind of will. I think then it naturally grows to that later. But you should not try to go to the tree from the top. I think it from the ground, so to say, that you have to have patience and not to be too in a hurry to conduct. To be a little bit also to be a little bit more mature, because teenager.
Yes. So I'm curious. So do you perform as a chamber musician a lot, or more like a soloist?
Soloist very soloist very seldom, but chamber music I would love to do even more. I would really love to do, but well, now as you know, last year or year and a half there was no chamber music at all. You know.
Oh yeah.
We had to be we had to be so careful of this virus. So this is suffering. I have been suffering for not being able to do that, and many other people as well, I'm sure. But chamber music is really the thing that is so important. This kind of mental health, well-being, and maybe even the physical well-being of a musician.
Yeah. I see. Okay. How about the outside music scene? From the photos you shared with us, there seem to be a lot of precious moments outside of music. Would you like to share any of them?
Well, yes, I always was a big nature lover, so to say. We have this summer cottage also, which has this boat with like was in the picture. I always like to go to the nature and to the lake with a boat, and I'm very interested about birds and butterflies and animals in general, and so I think that is to our it's important to have this connection with nature, and to also that we belong to nature, we are part of nature. So I think that's a very, very fundamental and healthy connection to maintain. So that is something. Well, now it's just the beginning of the summer here in Finland, and it's particularly beautiful always. Now it's the lilacs are blossoming, and it's plus 26 degrees Celsius, and all the birds, different birds are singing, even the birds in the night time. Some of those very virtuosic birds are singing. So I think it is a really great time of the year, and after a long winter here in Finland. So now it's summer has started, and it's so enjoyable. So I think that is something I feel as a musician also, that this connection with the nature, and that is somehow I think I really need that, as a musician, to be that have this inner sound and inner singing in oneself. It's always good to have connection with nature and listen to the birds and so on.
Oh, I see. So by going out, like enjoying nature and all these, do you ever like get inspired by the nature and then maybe put it into the music, like in your conducting? Or
well, I unconsciously, I'm sure I'm doing it. I just don't very consciously think about it, but I think it is, at least for me, it is the way that I feel refreshed and I feel renewed when I had long walks in the nature, and I'm sure many composers, they refer to nature a lot, and I just heard in a radio program one Finnish composer said that he has his main part of his job as a composer is to have a long walks in the nature.
I see. So has music helped you in your enjoyment of this aspect of life, or would you say it is good to have interest outside the world of music too?
I think it is important to have interest in other things in the world. I think that is, as a musician, I think music has, of course, everything in life, and to discover that and to understand all the aspects, I think it's very useful and even obligatory, so to say, to understand and to have knowledge of different arts and different literature and history and such a thing. So I think that's for a musician, it's so important to have, so to say, the big picture, and of course to have a connection with the world, because the world gives us a lot of surprises, as we have seen past year and beyond. We know that the world is not stable; it's always going somewhere very fast. Even we have to somehow to be part of it, and to have this interaction to reflect our musicianship with the world. I think it's important, and it's important because as we know, both as a violinist, we know that it's a difficult instrument that we have to practice a lot, and it's so easy to and it's needed. It's really needed. But I remember in a studying time when I was in Holland and I was studying and I was just practicing from the beginning of the day to the end, and just like that, and Paganini caprices, and it's very difficult. But it still has to be some kind of interaction with the world, as a little bit wiser nowadays. So I understand that more now. But it's a difficult. We need to go. We need to practice, and we need to go deep. But we still have to have other ideas and to refresh our minds and so on. So.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so you have heard that the Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra has involved itself in a variety of activities. So on behalf of JPO, we would like to ask your views on the JPO and its activities. Additionally, how would you suggest the JPO and its members further improve themselves?
I think that it's really so important what the JPO is doing. I read about it and I'm very impressed, and I even touched about to learn that those children who has maybe not so many means but you are helping with providing the instruments, and maybe even the trips are long, and so that you really provide them this kind of content to their life more, and to have this kind of, I think it's very important, and I think very respectful work what you are doing. So I'm really thankful for that. I think those children are blessed to have this kind of possibility because of JPO. I think that is really important. It's very difficult, in the other hand, to see what you should do more, because you have also, I read that you have concerts in different formats. You have symphony orchestras and chamber orchestras and so, and chamber music. You have everything what is needed. So I think it sounds like the best possible program what I could imagine for you to have, because Malaysia is of course a vast country, and on different islands, and it's difficult to travel, maybe for not easy to travel for all, and so
yes.
So it is. I think it's very sounding very positive. What you are doing. So I don't think I could. Of course, if you would have even more concerts, more chamber music in the future, that would be, of course, even better. But I guess you have also suffered during the last 18 months or so.
Yes.
About the COVID and.
Yes. But who knows? Maybe in the future we might, when COVID gets better, then we might actually invite you over to.
I will
give some tips.
Lovely, yeah.
Yes.
It's of course very exotic. It's almost like other side of the planet.
Yeah.
From Finland, but it's of course it's very interesting, and it's of course very tropical. So you basically have this tropical way of living, and it's a climate, everything. So it's very different. But I appreciate a lot your what you are doing as an orchestra and as an organization, and I think that is something that in many parts of the world we could learn and have advice of your what you are doing. I think that's a really best that's what's music about. It's to give access to it to everybody.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, now shall we go to the Q&A section? Mr. Tuomas, Maestro Tuomas, are you still there?
No, yeah, I'm here. I'm still, but it just does this kind of things without even me touching there. So I think the internet. I'm sorry about the internet connection, but I think that's also, maybe it's because we are almost other side of the planet. So maybe.
Okay, so the first question. Hi, could you share with us how you feel when you play the violin, where you are in direct control of what you want as opposed to conducting and conducting an orchestra, where you need to depend on all the members to deliver what you intend to convey?
Yes, that is something. It's a very good question, but it's very difficult to answer because I don't really know what's happening there. I think it is because whether you play chamber music, violin as a chamber musician,
Yeah.
or where you conduct your orchestra, I think in the bottom line it's about the same. It's like almost like throwing yourself to the sounding world of music. You don't really, also when you go to sea to swim, you don't really know you are in the fluid, in the somehow the spring of sound and music. So it's very difficult to explain what is happening and why. I think it's the power of music is taking us over, so to say.
Okay. Okay, shall we move on
So
to
it's really the music. Music is the. I just would
yes.
add one thing, that I think the music is the leading thing. We are just the servants of music. We are not really consciously doing what we are, just reacting to the music itself. That's I think the ground of it.
Yes, I agree. So when I would like to ask a question. So when you're doing that, right, you will also try to um convey what the composer actually wanted to do, is it? Like, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I see.
Yes, and it's an endless learning progress as well. You year after year you understand maybe more what the composer wanted, and more what is there, and even you realize, oh, in the score, there is a little accent there, or there's that. You always, it's never ready. You always learn more, and you should be curious to learn more.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, move on to the next question. Hello, Maestro. What would you do differently if you are given a chance to walk the same musical path of journey?
Yeah, interesting question. um, we've been speaking about being playing and conducting both. It's of course a very they give it to each other also, but also they take from each other. So it's not always easy to be doing both, and somehow it has some confrontations in time using and maybe even mind wise to know which one you are really doing. And I think what I would do differently, of course, it's easy to say now, but afterwards. But maybe I should have to concentrate to one or the other even more. Yeah, but well, yeah, that's maybe the other thing I would have done differently. But it's difficult to say. It's difficult to see what somebody else would see more clearly. And myself, it's difficult to see my own things so clearly.
I see. I'm just curious, would you do differently, or would you say actually you're fine with what you're having now? Actually, this path is actually pretty good. What would you say?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, it's a reality in any way. I think that I cannot go backwards. So it's a reality, and of course, it's great to be able to be in connection with symphonic music and chamber music. It's all, of course, the richness of that.
I see. Okay, on to the next question. Maestro Tuomas, there are many different schools of conducting. Do you find it difficult to conduct orchestras which are used to their regular conductor who conducts differently from you? And can you give some pointers as how to overcome this if you are their guest conductor?
Yeah, that's an interesting question also. I think every orchestra is a different personality, and every orchestra, and I think whether you have a similar or different approach as a conductor, I think it's always a new relationship between orchestra and conductor. And I think the best advice maybe would be just to forget about this and just to go to the music and concentrate to the music, and then the path will be, you will both ways, you will find path via music to communicate. It's difficult to say what should, maybe so that you could reflect to that maybe I just try to do very essential in the beginning, to just have a little bit smaller movements or so, but to have a very clear picture in mind what you would like to music sound like, and then to communicate that to the orchestra is the main thing. And it's allowed to take time. That's why the rehearsals are there also, that it's not dangerous in the very first moments. It's a chaos. It can be a chaos. Life is sometimes chaos. But it will find just to go into the music and go with the flow to that, and I think it will find their path during the rehearsals, and not to be afraid and not to be shocked about the beginning, because beginning is allowed to be a chaotic one.
I see. Okay, one more question from me. So given the situation with COVID-19 and its impact on the music scene, how have you and other musicians been coping? Have you been keeping yourself busy?
Well, I have been keeping mainly myself busy as just to practicing myself and reading music and so also that is very good thing to do, and at least now there was time to do that, and I've been happy about that. But of course, that's just one side of it. Of course, we are missing each others and playing together, and so. But the orchestras have been still now performing. We have been performing empty halls, just streaming. Yeah, like I had in April, I had concert with one major orchestra here in Turku. We had a concert, but so that every player had to have at least 2 meters from each other. So even it was not a very big orchestra at the stage at the same time, but still on a very large scale like that, with huge distances and just streaming without audience. That's the way it has been mainly now last year or something like that, in Finland, that we still, there was a time that concerts were cancelled, but we have been able to do so with the streaming, but without audience. And it's of course a different feeling and different situation, but yeah, that's the way it has been. But of course, it has been in a way a little bit hard and so, but that's how the things are, and we have survived, so to say. We have survived. We are still alive, but hopefully next fall it's going to change little by little. You know, first we can take maybe a 1/3 of the hall full, and then maybe later 2/3, and finally full hall can be accepted again. I hope.
I see.
Yeah, something like. But still, many summer festivals here in Finland have been cancelled. At least those who would have bigger events. So because only streaming summer festivals, that's not really somehow on the spirit of summer festival is really to be there. So that's the case.
Yeah.
Second summer in a row that has been a lot of cancellation of all those festivals, and it has been very tough, of course, financially too. But hopefully now next year it's going to be, or next fall and next year it's going to be clear.
Yeah, that's hope.
And how about you there?
Here?
Same question to you. How it's? Yeah.
Actually, we just had lockdown, just like quite recent. Yeah, but before this lockdown, actually, we're doing pretty well. We do have concerts going on, but as for now, I think it's mostly like recordings. Yeah. But now, actually, we're doing online. Yes, mostly online. Everything has to go online.
Online, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so we have come to the end of the broadcast. So, on behalf of JPO, we would like to thank everyone for dedicating your time and energy into this interview despite the pandemic that is happening right now. We would also like to thank everyone who has attended and supported this program. You guys have been great. I hope you guys got the answers you wanted. So this broadcast will be on every Wednesday and Sunday night at the same time until further notice. Now I will end with prayer. Please pray in whatever faith you believe in for the COVID-19. Dear Lord, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come together, continue running this program at a moment like this. I want to pray for the nurse and doctors from around the world who has been constantly treating patients with COVID-19, and I hope people who diagnosed with COVID-19 will get better soon. Lastly, I pray for our safety and health, and may in the future there be peace within. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tuomas. We're very honored to have you as our guest speaker.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And I'm sorry about the internet.
No worries. No worries.
I think it's because of the distance, and I don't know, maybe the internet connection here in my country house is a little bit. But at least me, as with the COVID, with difficulties, but we managed.
Yes, we managed. Yes. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
All the best.
See you. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.